Okay, hi there, guys. Just see who's in at the moment. Might be taking a while for a few to get in. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Peter, how are you, mate? I think it'll be a fairly quiet one today, buddy. So you're probably still on the weekend, long weekend even. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if I gave a heads up that we may move it to Tuesday, but anyway, we'll see how we go. So I don't know if I mentioned, I'm all excited because we finally got the NBN, and I've been playing around with it. I think it was Thursday last week, and it's really, really good. Really happy with it so far. Did a bit of a test run on the stream into my own account for about 30 minutes and didn't miss a beat. So speeds are completely different to what I'm used to. That shouldn't be a problem with buffering or dropping out or anything like that. So if you do see something, Pete, just let me know. Um, yeah, anyone else too? I'm just checking the numbers at the moment, so just making sure it's all smooth. All right. So today we'll probably just keep it short and sharp if if the numbers don't pick up too much. But I'll just go through. Obviously, we'll take a quick look at what's happening over the US. Obviously, what's driving the market, um, just to see where we're at. And our market's having a cracking day today. We're obviously playing catch up to Friday's move and last night's move. So out in the US, and then I won't go over too many charts. Okay, Laurent. I won't go over too many charts myself. Probably go over just a couple. But I'll let you guys put in some, and we'll just work through a few charts. Have a look at where we're at. So, uh, just the usual. Anyone that's new, you can see us on top left-hand corner is on Twitter. So if you follow us on Twitter, we're just posting bits and pieces that we like on there. Some stuff that I follow a bit that might be interest. We'll just like that, so there'll be bits and pieces on there for you. Facebook, I mean, you can join in that, but it's pretty much going to be the same or less than what we show on Twitter. But also the bottom right, if you subscribe to us at YouTube, and then you'll get a heads up anytime we do go live and don't warn you, like today. So yeah, subscribe there, and also we just give general advice. So on our opinions of the market. Now let me get rid of that. Close that down, and we've got our. Should see a chart popping up soon. What have I got here? I'll get the. It's not the one, is it? I wanted that. There we go. No, it's not. Here we go. So this is the. What have we got? This is the S&P. We'll go to the S&P first. We'll go through what's happening overseas. Um, have a bit of a chat about that, where the markets are at, and then we'll just drill it down a bit into the ASX. Don't know what everyone else's view, but the US certainly bounced back pretty hard. You can see there's sort of a key level through that 25,000 mark, key zone. It's broke. It sort of reacted up off that zone, hold a lower high, pressed down, washed it out, completely cleared it out, and then bang, straight back up again. So um, it's a tough one at the moment, I think, in the US. They're talking interest rate cuts, which is buoying the market, but I'd be wary. I think it's out next week, the announcement. The market's well and truly factored it in. Interest rate cuts, are potentially increasing global growth again. I mean, it has been slowing lately. Maybe we're starting to turn a corner. But then you come out, they had the ECB, I think it was on the weekend, said they're willing to cut rates if things don't improve or if they slow down further. So they're sort of saying one thing, the ECB and everyone in the US is, going gangbusters, rallying because they're looking at interest rate cuts also. But if they don't play out, I think that's the biggest risk at the moment up here at these levels is if they don't play out, if the US Fed Reserve don't cut rates or hold off. They might not cut them this time and just see how the numbers are going, because there was some jobs data that come out yesterday. I think it was overnight, employment data saying the employment figures were at the strongest pace they've had for quite a while. And vacant positions, I think, dropped off a bit. So the employment rate picked up quite a lot, which is not exactly what you'd want to see. You'd want to see a bit of the reverse, because then that sort of plays into the way of rate cuts. It's pretty much factored in by the markets. Bonds are factoring it in. Most participants are factoring the rate cut this time around, but just it'd be interesting to see, even if they do cut rates like expected, what's going to happen in the US, whether it kicks on, because pretty much that's what everyone's factoring in now. Or if they don't, that could get a bit scary. We could see a lot of heat, a lot of people chasing. You can see this. What am I on? I'm on the daily. That bounce off that, what is it, the lows at 24,680. These lows in here, that bounce off their last couple of days have been pretty strong. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, bang, straight up, and some really hefty moves as well. Some good moves. So I'm caught a bit. Well, not. I'll just show you what I'm looking at. So it's two things. This is a Dow, don't forget. They've still got issues with China. I mean, nothing's sorted out. They had Mexico that they came to the party saying, yeah, well, oh, that's not what I want. They're going to do something about immigration and start to work on that. So the US is going to hold off tariffs. So that was a bit of a kick overnight for the US market. Payrolls come out a lot lower than expected, which works its way into a rate cut. That was on Friday night. But yeah, you can see this level here that was broken, and you've got off this lower high. But the thing is, this lower high has also been broken. So, you know, if this is just that sort of two moves lower we talk about quite a bit, just to flush out a lot of these buys that are potentially moved up in here, flush them out, and then setting ready to go again and attack these highs potentially right up towards that 26,680 thereabouts. That could be the play that's playing out, but I still think, you know, we are looking well and truly extended at this current zone where we're at the moment. You know, up here, there's no reason why it can't keep, you know, ticking up to say 26,680, was it 26,800, these highs up here. There's no reason at all. So at the moment, the market's up. It's seen that this is more, I'm putting more emphasis on this being a washout. You know, through that support line, it's a clear support, wash it out off a lower high, it's cleaned out, brought in the bears, and then turn around and squeeze them back out again. So there'd be buyers and sellers. Buyers are a bit excited at the moment, but if you're buying into the stretch market now, look, you've got to have a lot of conviction that it's going to go higher, because I think this market in the US may be running out of fuel to continue higher. It may just chop around up here, may have a little minor pullback, go back up, retest the highs, may chop around until we get the rate cut that's confirmed. And then it'd be interesting to see, like I said, what happens there, because it's factored in, it's well and truly factored in. Or this market gets a run on. I think, oh, that's great, dropping rates, maybe another time by the end of the year, you know, 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. It's going to be good for the economy. Bang, up she goes. But we'll see. So that's the Dow. The S&P, you know, pretty much the same. Oh, it's more. It has found a zone. You can see through, say, 27.25, but it did do the same sort of thing. You know, pullback, built a lower high, broke through that, not a key zone, but did break for a support zone. Cleaned out a few of these buys late into the party up here. It has cleaned out. So this move off the highs is enough to clean out a lot of buyers that have been getting skeptical and bring in some bears that are going to sell into this market off that lower high, then just turn around and smash them back out again. So anyone that's been shorting is probably squeezed out, what you'd say, squeezed out, otherwise they're holding on for dear life at the moment. They've been squeezed out of the market. So for me, it'd be interesting to see whether we come back down, build a higher low, or we start, it's all, I think it's the next couple of days, you know, it's going to be a sharp move down and then a controlled rally back up again, which could lead me to be a bit more bearish, or a controlled rally down from here and then a sharp move back up. Because then that the difference in movements will give you a bit of a heads up on what's happening in the market. You know, by sharp move, I'm just trying to find an example. This was a bit more controlled. You can see, you know, pop down, a couple of green days, off the lows, down, up, down. Yeah, that was a bit more choppy. And then it sort of popped up here, got a bit ahead of itself, but the way it's rallied up there quite hard, that's more bullish than anything else. So we'll just have to see what happens over in the US. I'll draw it up to what I'm talking about. I don't really need to draw. So say off the highs, if we come down quite hard like that, then we start working our chop sort of back up. Okay, that will bring in a few bulls, but that's not conducive to a really strong market, I wouldn't suspect. And then there is potential for that just to head south. So it all depends what we do, whether we do actually pull back from this move, pull back and hold a higher low, like that, or whether we just continue going. But that's sort of what I'm looking at the moment. I feel there's got to be a bit of heat to come out of this move eventually. Whether it's here, higher, lower, who knows? Who knows? And the other alternative to this is whether we've powered up and we start grinding down a bit and then power back up. I would expect that there's more of a buying scenario. You can just see the difference. That's more controlled down, which potentially normally, well, there's a higher potential that that's going to rally back up again. And then that's enough of a higher low to work from that's going to power up to 2680 or, even through those highs into new all-time highs. Or we're going to do this type of scenario. So for me, yeah, it's looking good, but it's at that stage, the same as what we're up here. We're at that stage back then where, okay, is there enough fuel? Say you're trading it in here. Is there enough fuel? Is that a legitimate, buying that's going to drag us because you want it to actually push through those highs? You don't want to get caught in that chop. So if you're looking at it up here, you've got to assess. You're coming into a high. You've come off quite a big rally. Is there enough fuel on the sidelines ready to get in and continue that market higher and be quite strong? As it turned out, it wasn't. So I think we could be at about that stage now. Is there enough fuel after this little rally before, just to continue higher? Or is it going to roll over? But we'll see. So the S&P to me is very much the same. FTSE, yeah, it's just taking out this lower high in here. So again, it's that 1-2 moves down. It's cleaned out a lot of these late buys into that move, probably from the start, February, March. This sort of leg up here being cleaned out. And then is it resetting? Is that enough of a high low on a major scale? Say go to the weekly, a high low here that's going to power through the highs up at 75.30, say, and start attacking all-time highs at 7,800 or 7,900. The DAX could be, well, DAX is a bit different. But again, we've had one move down, rally, lower high, secondary move down, just to clean out a few of these late buys. It hasn't really come into a support zone yet, so I'd suspect that the DAX is going to have to chop around and confirm with a high low, and maybe a pullback, build a high low, and then go. If it's going to rally hard, otherwise it's just going to roll over from here, you'd say. Just a DAX, Hang Seng, not much to look at there. It's a good day today, that's about it. That longer term weekly chart, it's really come off the highs here, a good retracement here. Maybe this is the start of a key high low building, which could see us back up towards that 30,000 mark or above, attacking the highs at 33,000. We'll have to wait and see on that. Nikkei, what's Nikkei doing? Yeah, that's a lot choppier for me. If I just draw that up, g'day Shirley, Paul. Shirley and Paul. Let me just show you what I'm looking at the Nikkei. Not so bad. I mean, you've had a big clean out. So basically the market's pressed up, pulled back. It's consolidated through here, which has led to that little pop. And that should be enough consolidation I would expect to get that to drive through the highs. Instead, it turned around and failed. So you do get, a lot of the times when it fails, you do get that sort of secondary leg. It's got to take out a key level. And what the market's really doing is searching for that equilibrium. And it's got to squeeze people out, put them back on the sidelines until you get to that point of agreement where buyers are happy to step in and sellers are easing off, and it starts to match off. They start to come to that point of agreement, and then one side will win, and then start to change direction or see the market turn. Now, the fact that it's got that washout up the top, up the highs, when you would have expected after this to be a bit stronger, you've got this big washout now. This big washout of that key support, so it just cleaned out a lot of buyers, say, above, what's that? That was been last year, in sort of October last year, I think it was. No, 2017. So it has spent a lot of time on the weekly chart, cleaned out a lot of the buyers that are probably trying to buy in here. They've been cleaned out. They've been cleaned out. Anyone sort of above that zone around 19,000 really been squeezed out of the market. So a lot of years what is it? Probably a good part of 2018 has just been thrown away with that correction there. So from here, the market's popped up, and you just want to see whether this is going to be a high low or whether we're going to pressure down, and this is going to be a major lower high. So they're sort of the two key points. What are we waiting for? That to confirm potentially a lower high, and then I would expect it going through 19,000, start attacking somewhere, some levels down here, or that sort of level down 16 to 17,000. That's a complete rollover, or whether we're going to have this start to be protected, and we're going to start to see this is the line in the sand for the bulls, and whether they can protect that zone, it's better go into a daily. That's at around that, say 20,000, 20,250 with this little pop up here. Yet to play out just yet, but that's what I'll be looking at in the Nikkei anyway. All right, it's enough on the overall markets. I think let's take a look at the ASX. Now the ASX is looking quite handy. I think it has, after today, what we're up 83 points at the moment. It's really getting a bit of a head of steam at the moment, and that, the bears would have been expecting, okay, we're going to roll over from here. We're going to roll over. I think there's a bit of a FOMO going on, fear of missing out, where people are chasing this market higher, starting to get in. I think there's a lot of banks that are starting to move quite well. Bit off to look at the weekly charts. No, not so much. This is Westpac. I'll go over here. Westpac's kicking up. CBA looks quite good. I mean, that's just a bit of a spike up here. Comebacks, consolidates at a higher level at 77. Continue that trend up. We go to the weekly. And if you can see that off the highs, big move down, consolidated through that 70 zone, pop back up. And that would have dragged in a lot of buys, and it's come all the way back down and cleaned out the support zone at 70. So that's taken quite a lot of time since, 2015. But that massive structure, okay, is that starting to come to an end? Is it worth watching? I mean, for me, it's probably pretty early just yet. Watching the banks. We're just starting to tip through now. So you've got one big leg here, big leg up, another big leg down, all evenly matched. So whether we're popping up here, whether we can pull back, I'd rather see a big controlled pullback and a key higher low to work from. Potentially on the weekly charts, a pullback, key higher low, and then see if we can build off that higher low. But at the moment, I think if you chase it up here, you can keep your wrist tight on CBA. You can probably wouldn't buy it just up here, wait for a pullback. If you can sit on the MA, something like this, consolidate, it's worth jumping into. But yeah, the banks are starting to show some good signs. NAB, very similar off the highs, big move down, 2015, bit of a bounce, controlled move down. You can see the descent, angle of descent on that. It's a lot steeper than this angle of descent here. But it did take out the lows. Is it repairing itself? Is it ready to go again? I think it's probably a bit too early if for longer term buyers, for portfolios, super funds, whatever. But I think that could be the play. It could be what's happening at the moment. But the banks are the big driver of the move today, by the looks of it. Let's get over to, where was I? I just want to get over to sectors just to see what sectors. Pretty much healthcare is kicking along nicely. That's a big leader at the moment. What have we got? Consumer discretionary, energy's up. Pretty much everything's doing quite well except utilities and gold. Now gold, copying a bit of hammering of late. Just get onto that. It did pop up last week, but it was really rejected. It rejected those highs as gold was kicking along nicely. So a bit tentative on what we've got at the moment, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, let's just check out what we've got at the moment. We've got RHC going along nicely. We're just tightening the, make that a bit thicker, just tighten the risk up on that one because I think we're coming up to some key levels. We're key level here. If we're going to react off that level, it's probably going to have a deep correction back to 65, say maybe close that gap. So I'd rather have a tight stop on this one just to lock in a bit more gain on that. And if it keeps going through that level, good on it. Then the next level up is probably towards 75, 67, thereabouts, this highs or this zone through here. Just above 75, so we can get a bit more in that if we can. If it's going to blast through this level, just continue to trudge its way through these highs, then I think that's the next port of call to retest. But that's looking good. If the ASX keeps ticking higher, that's just going to keep grinding up, I'd say. And it's a good spot. the volume's easing off a bit as we get a bit higher, a bit extended on Ramsey, but there's no reason why it can't just keep plugging away. That structure's looking really nice, apart from that gap, still looking quite nice. It's Ramsey, but RMS, which is your goldie, with struggling, got up through the highs towards $1, backed off. I think we're looking for a partial around the 104 or so, but it didn't touch it, and it's starting to look a bit tentative. I mean, the trend is still up, still looking good. Don't really want to stop it out, and then watch it turn around and go back up if gold, market drops on the dime. US drops, gold rallies hard, and then sit missing a move back up through $1. So happy just to see how this one plays out. SLR, same sort of scenario. It's hovering around here. It's still sitting on top of the MAs, which is good. It just needs a hold. If it can't hold here, suggest if it gets through 80, it could be over. Then you start to test down towards lows of 78 and so on. So I think this one needs to hold. SLR needs to hold these zones and pop back up again. If it can get up through this high at 85, then I think it's going to target a high, take out that high at 88. But again, there's gold is just struggling at the moment. We've got RAP looking great, bouncing off the MAs, first high, low. See if they can tick on. It's getting locked in a bit at the moment. You can see the volume, the bids and the offers. The bids are quite well stacked, but the offers, they seem to be just loading up on the offer, whether they're trying to lock it in or it's getting locked in here, who knows? Or someone's trying to build a big position here at around that 16 to 18 mark. We'll just have to see, but the trend is up, looking good. Good volume the last, that was Friday. Good volume there. Another good volume day and a rally on the 4th. So that's looking okay. Coke looking good on its way up off a higher low. So we're looking now to see what happens up to sort of above 10, 10.25. See what happens up at this zone. You can see this high just up here. It could react off that zone quite easily, and but you don't want to. We want to lock in a gain sooner or later. But it's not a big percentage winner at the moment. So if that can kick up here and it starts to react on the lower time frame, start to struggle around 10.25 or so, okay, we'll maybe lock in something and then just tighten up the stop, because if it goes over, you can see that weekly, if it rolls over, it's getting a bit extended away from those MAs. Sooner or later you find there's probably going to be a bit of profit taking. You don't want to see this kind of profit taking when it just dropped out of the sky like that. CQE, again, that's didn't like this day. I don't know if anyone saw that. We missed our stop by 1 cent. It held just above it, and then Friday rallied. It's starting to get a bit tentative up here, but we'll see. See if they can kick on through these highs again. I think it's going to get back through that high at 370. It's holding up there okay. Not a big day today, but we'll see. I mean, SRG, what's that doing there? Yeah, it's getting chewed around a bit, but that's still a good one. That's looking good. So yeah, not much happening at the moment. So that's our position, just sort of some up, some down. Just one of those days. Now, what are you going to take a look at? Chuck it into put it into the codes in, but Shirley's got to put a few in there. I'm guessing they're all US stuff. So we'll start off with some Aussie stuff and then we'll get into that. Is there anything else? Just flicking through some charts here. HE8, this is just a little watch list I've been putting together just to see what's happening. APT, anyone doing a cap raising by the looks of it? I'm not a big fan of this chart just at the moment. There's a bit of heat coming out of there. I don't know what the cap raising price is at. Let me just see. Has anyone got APT? Capital raising to support midterm. What's interest replacement rates minimum 300 million, 2175. So it's about where it's. Don't tell me someone didn't know that. 2175 to raise about 300 million, which is give or take around below where we are at the moment, below where it closed. Where did it close? That was Friday, 24. So look, it could still get knocked down a bit below that 22 mark. Let's say 2175. Is that right? 2175. So Yeah, it could easily still get knocked down below 21, 22, and there may be, due to the cap raising, it may just be a bit of people, someone locking in some gains. So just keep an eye on that one if you've got APT. I think the daily is not too bad. I don't mind that daily, but this weekly, could get a bit more of a pullback. You might see a grind high. I'm just worried that it's going to do something like this. There's going to be people locking in gains sooner or later. So what have we got, Pete? Let's put up CKF. Let me just see what else we've got on the cards. Nothing's much taking my fancy. This is MVF. It has kicked higher. PAR, we're watching that for a bit. It's just grinding down. So I'm losing interest in that slowly. ACRUX, yeah, it's all right. ALI, it's going to be extended. So there's a few there. PPT, I don't mind. If you can consolidate around above that 40 mark, that could easily launch and take out that high at, say, 45 from here, and that could lead to a move up towards that 50 zone, above 50. So I'm just watching that, see if we can consolidate those highs. FLN, bit the same. You can see that this big cup here, it started to push up here. It's come back down, sat on top of the MAs quite a few times on the weekly charts. So it's one to keep an eye on. It's quite thin at the moment as well, I think. Yeah, quite thin. It's not trading a lot. So if that takes your fancy, there's one there. Perseus, Goldies are struggling. JMS, Jupiter. What else we got? I think this is the one. Macquarie Telecom. That could start. I mean, if this is one where longer term, if these levels hold through 1950 and it starts to pop up, this one could start to get a bit of a move on, but we'll have to see. I think it's more of a longer term play. You see that weekly good leg up, but that correction off the highs around 25 correction. It's starting to, if it can consolidate through here and start to lift, and this could actually form that 1950 higher low. That's something we confirm with a push up through, was it 21? Then yeah, that could look good. So let's just see how that plays out. What else we got? Okay, let's go over here. CKF. How's the stream going so far? So far, so good. Looking good. I've got a feeling we're not, touch wood, not going to have any more problems now. So CKF, this is on the weekly chart. It's definitely bullish here, and there's potential for it to, edge up through the highs at 835. If you're going to buy it through 835 or here, you'd probably stop. Would want to be below 763, and that weekly is looking quite good. I like all this structure. You can see, say from 2017, sort of going sideways, some lower highs, but it was really holding up at that $5 zone. And it was about here when it really could have perked the interest. It's pressed down, reacted up, major lower high here, started to work its way back down, retested those lows around that $5 mark, popped up. When it pulled back and it just held a slightly higher level, probably only 20 cents or so at this stage, back middle of last year, and started to lift. I'll be looking for an entry. It was a tough one. It probably, was it here? When was that? Middle of last year. So we're missing that. It's way back here, wasn't it? So it would have been a few little entries through here. Big backed off. Like with most of the market, it backed off around that sort of September, October mark. Actually, didn't it? It kicked high when the market was selling off, but then it got caught up, I guess, with the rest of the market sell off into Christmas. Held nicely, and it's working its way up. So even the daily is looking quite good. We're getting a bit stretched, probably just after today, that price action from today. It's looking good. So if you're long on this one, I'm not sure if you're long on this, Pete, or are you looking at it? It would have been nice to take it, basically on today through a high of 816, bought at 817, 818, would have worked out okay so far. Yes, I traded through there. So if you bought it on there, you've got your risk just below, say around the 780 mark, 780. There's not a lot of risk on it, and see if you can get that move through that high. So the key level is right about where we're at the moment, 835. We touched that. We've pushed through it today, 837, so a few cents. It's got a, you'd like to see this close above this previous high, not reject it. If we get some sort of rejection into the close again, like we did back on 7th of May, I'd be a little bit concerned with this, but all in all, so far so good. The volume's a bit more than it was on Friday. Good volume with this sort of rally. See how the volume picks up. If we can pick up into the close, and you got a few bigger punters trading it into the close with some more volume, and we can see if this can be well supported. But definitely that trend is up. Like it's sitting on top of the MAs, nice here, nice here. You got inside higher low, just probably end of last month, start of this month, forming. So that's so far so good, all looking good. It's just, like I always say, it's getting a bit stretched up here. No reason to close, but reason to be wary. Just looking, nearly bought today. Would have been nice, Pete. Would have been nice. Lauren, COH. Yeah, I'd say this would be a longer term play. So for me, the way I'd be viewing this one is to see what happens. So I would, just me personally, you've seen the market's pressed up, big move down into the end of last year. That was through September, October, I'm guessing. Popped up, lower high, come back down and retested. But this was actually quite good. You can see at that stage it was just, contracting, and we've got this leg up, which has just started to kick off. And we've only really just got through this high at around sort of 200 bucks. So for me, I'd prefer to see a decent pullback on the weekly. I wouldn't be looking at the daily just yet. So I think this leg is getting a bit stretched up here. Yeah, it could just keep going, could be completely wrong, but I think for me, the way I look at things, the risk is getting a bit too high for me. You could easily go down to the daily. I mean, if you bought it here, just jump down to the daily. You just bought it, say you just bought it today, just through the highs, or you even bought it Friday on that little pop through that high at 201.72. So you bought it 201.75 on Friday, or you bought it today, your risk would be below the low of 194. Probably not risking a lot. And then you want to see how it travels up sort of that 220 mark. If you can just keep plugging away. So you know where your risk is. You just got to realize that weekly trend is potentially stretched. If the US tips over tonight, you can pretty much say that it's going to tip over with it. But maybe not. So yeah, just keep an eye on that one, Lauren. Not sure where you're at on that one, but yeah, if you're in there, fine. It's still looking good on the daily. It's just that weekly that could be causing a few headwinds. Ideally, I mean, what I'm always ideally looking for is, a pullback on the weekly, a pullback like that on the weekly, dropping it to your daily to see if you can get your high lows on your daily as well. Then they're both, the weekly, longer term, and your shorter term daily charts are both on the rise rather than, we could be on the rise here. There could be still some more corrective action to play out, pull back, high, low, and then go. Now, if we do get that high, low from here, I'm sort of looking at, what we got, 1, 2, 3, I'm about here. So if we do get that high, low play out, something like this, great on the weekly. Then that could be really handy buy, maybe somewhere around 185, even up towards that 190 mark. If we can pull back, fall into that zone, buy a step in, bit of volume picked up. You can see that weekly come, a bit of heat. I'm just looking for a bit of heat to come out on the weekly charts. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to do something like this. Stay overbought for a while, just keep trending up and go through that 220 mark, but we'll see. What else did you have? FBU. Yeah, weekly's down for sure, and the daily I'd say down as well. For me, I would just be steering clear at the moment. Yeah, I know stocks, it's been beaten down a bit. Let's just see what's happening in the monthly. It is down in the zone where, okay, big sell-off here way back in the GFC days, I guess. That was a turnaround about the start of 2009. Another retest back down at $4 mark. 2012, we come back down into now. We're starting to lift. But for me, that weekly the anchor level for the weekly is way up here, about 650. So we have got the room just to drift higher on the daily, keep drifting higher, and we could roll over from here. But that weekly trend is still down. Let me just draw. I just think there could be something a bit easier to trade with a bit more potential. The fact that something's been beaten down, I'm not a big fan of thinking it's a reason to buy. And if you're looking here, okay, yeah, no, it's one of those things, isn't it? Whether this is, a level to look at, that even $10 mark, pressed up here, pull back, lower high, the market just keeps ticking down, so it's not a really good sign. Yeah, I think that the anchor for me is the anchor to trend down. You can see lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower high. That's pressed down here. We're grinding back up, and that was good expansion down into that longer term support zone around was it $4? The reason why you probably get that expansion candle down on the downside, really cleaning out just that capitulation. So if that's the case, yeah, I would ideally like to see it probably test back down, a good pullback, and then hold a higher low. One to keep in the cards, but yeah, definitely the weekly trend is down. The daily's starting to pick up. We're sitting on top of the MAs, but this is not a very solid trend at all. Wouldn't want to be throwing too much money at that one anyway. IRI, bit better, this one, and you can see what's happened on IRI, which is a good, nice thing. Obviously, the market's popped up, struggled up at that $4 mark, and just rolled over from there. You got smacked all the way back down to about $1.40. Don't know what's happened to it. The fundamental reason why it's just been knocked over. But a lot of these buys have been cleaned out. So it's sort of reset itself. Had a big move down, pop up, tried to go here, took out the lows again. So that for me is your sort of secondary leg down off, say $3 all the way down to say dollar. Was it? Let's say $1.50. Say $1.50, and we worked back up. So I like the fact on the weekly chart that we've had a powerhouse move up. A couple of good solid weeks at the start of the year, really reacted strong. Now, if this is weak, if it's going to continue with weakness and the selling hadn't finished, this should have led to a sell-off. Holding a lower high, we'll draw that up actually. We shouldn't have got that pop. So, 1, 2 moves down, we pop back up. If that was weakness, we should have really broken to the downside, held a lower high in here, potentially, and rolled over. Instead, it's popped up. So there's a lot of consolidation where you can see that, that point of agreement between buyers and sellers, buyers holding higher levels, sellers holding lower levels, and then pop. Looks like the buyers are winning. It's more, obviously, more buyers than sellers, but more strength in the buyer. So for me, it just means that this move down has cleared out more than enough sellers, more than enough buyers in this trend up. It's cleaned them out. It's reset enough. Reset through here, good part of this year, and it's starting to launch again. So saying all that, you'd be bullish on this from the weekly chart. It could be that it's just a bit extended up at these current levels above 3, up to 320 on the weekly. So, what does that look like on the daily? Yeah, I mean, the daily's still looking good. If you bought, even today at 310, anywhere sort of in today, you've stops below 278. The daily's looking good. Sitting on top of the MAs here, not a big, massive, increase in volume just yet. So maybe there's some longer term buyers still sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for our pullback. We may clean out this high, pull back, have a deeper correction back into this zone, and then start to lift. And it's more the weekly, but we'll see. I mean, this one could just keep ticking higher. There's no reason why the MAs can't catch up to price, or it can go sideways up here, consolidated at a higher level, and then go again. If that's the case, if you see that consolidation, yeah, I'll be looking to jump in that one. So that's IRI. What else we got? Yeah, where'd you get in, Lauren? Did you get in recently? I think that daily trend looks good. I like this move. That consolidation, yeah, through this year. That consolidation through here. Holding higher levels, looking good. Bam, out to the top side. So the momentum's definitely to the upside today. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. If your targets, if this was going to keep chugging higher, I mean, don't forget the weekly can take a bit longer to turn. Doesn't mean it's going to turn here just because we're overextended. This could easily power back up to, trying to think, even if this minor level, high 336. So you've still got, I don't know what that is, another 10% in it, potentially. If that's the case, um, you know where your risk is. They can power on, take a partial, and let it ride. Either way, it's looking good on the daily. What else we got? Linus. Wait, see. All right, let's take a look at that. So Linus is, as we know, rare earth. We still don't know what's going to happen with this. If China come out and say we're not going to, stop exporting rare earths or put a tariff on rare earths to the US. If they don't do that, there's going to be some heat come out of this move. So I think that move's got a bit ahead of itself. It was looking great. I mean, that weekly was looking great. I'm sort of ashamed or bitterly disappointed with myself for not jumping on board, around that 220 mark. And you can see that was a cracker. And this is probably the move you would have been looking at. Off the highs, looking good. You can even buy it through there, or this is a weekly chart. I mean, that would have been your trade setup for a push to the highs pretty much in 2 weeks. It got there. You could have taken a partial, give or take 2 to 1, 1.5 to 2 to 1 on that first part, and then just see what happens from here. Tighten your risk up. But that was the weekly chart that was looking really nice. You can see up, pullback, consolidation through here. Move up, higher lows, power up, some higher levels through here, power up, it's come all the way back down, and we built that higher level. Give or take, it's not really around that zone, but that's, if you can look at the legs, actually not so, this is a bit of a leg up here, but a good strong leg up here before we've had a decent amount of consolidation or correction. That's what I'm looking at. It's more of a macro correction or a constructive. There's another word for it. I keep forgetting my words now. Don't worry, I'll think about it later. Corrective, just call it a macro corrective action rather than this. It's not really macro. It's just continuing up, high, low. That's just all part of one leg. So this corrective phase is more cleaning out some of these buys and the late buys into that leg up, the red, and we started to power on again. So potentially, if you mark from low to high, we could still have quite a bit left in this move. I don't know exactly where it's going to take us. Let's just see. Am I on the weekly? I can't really see on the monthly, but you can see what I'm saying. Say that low to high, measure that somewhere around 75 up to 3. Was it 225? It's at 375 up here. It's to 4. It could still have quite a bit in just this move up here. On the daily, I think this near vertical move's got to get a bit of heat come out of it. I'm always skeptical on buying things like that. I know I could be on the sidelines just leaving it, missing it completely, but I always think I can find something that suits my personality, suits my trading style to get into and move. It's going to move and give me returns. So I think these ones, although you could jump in here and it could lift, it could also turn around and stop you out before we start to correct. So if this is just those couple of days down off the highs at 320, that's your first move down. We're sort of jumping up here. We could have another lower high. And the secondary move down, it could take us down to 240, potentially 235, 230 even. A deep correction, then start to build. And then this price could start to build. Again, it depends on, I think, what's happening over with China, what they're going to do with rare earths. And if they come out and start putting tariff on it, boom, you would expect Linus to just take off and just be wary of that. If not, if they come out and do nothing, and I think this move up is based on that, a lot of heat's going to come out of that move. Alrighty, what else is there? Is that probably better? ALI, is it? Oh, all. All good with the stream, got it. Cheers, Paul. VRT. You got in that, Paul, nice work. 420. Okay, so it's lifted up quite strong, obviously on the back of news. Yeah, it's looking good. This could be, I think, just looking at the weekly with the way you've got it structured, pull down, rally up, this sort of market start to lift here, found some selling just below 6. That's led to a good move down to 375. It's just starting to lift now, so potentially it could have to make a higher low on the weekly to bring in more buyers to take off again. Where that's going to be, it's probably going to be about, potentially, if it does pull back to 410-20 zone, builds a high low, sits on the MAs on your daily just to take a bit of heat out of this move up. Sits on the MAs and starts to lift again, great. You could even add to that position. As long as you know exactly where your risk is. If your risk is below these lows here, below 386, say, you've probably got your risk reward all sorted out. If it does come all the way back down from here and stop you, then something's completely wrong. But you might have to weather a bit of a pullback on that daily. It's looking to be a bit stretched just on the daily, but I think that weekly could be working in your favor. Even if we have that sort of 2 legs up, like this, push up, pull back on the, pop back up again. And here it really gave you another opportunity if you were long to get out. But who's to say that was going to happen? It could have just continued on. So that's what you're looking for, potentially that first pullback on the weekly, and see if you can weather that and see if you can kick on up. Yeah, no, not just yet, Shirley. Go jump into them now. Now that's it for those. I think we've got through everything. Let's just look at TGT. Target Corp, is it? Entry at 88. So again, it's just continuation of this move through the highs, I'm guessing. Buy through the highs with a stop of 280. 6.5 to win 1 ratio. Cool. I'm guessing you're just looking for that to go through these highs at 90 bucks. Where's your target? 106. Let's get into it. Actually, a daily chart would be a bit easier. If you're looking for it to power through that highs. Yeah, well, fair enough. It is looking a touch stretch just where it is at the moment, but one good thing about what you're popping up, Shirley, you've got, your risk reward all sorted out. You know exactly what you're looking at, what you're looking at happening, and give it a go. AL. What's this one anyway? Air Lease Corp. 39.80 with a stop loss of 1 to 1. This, it needs to get through. Where's your stop? 39.80. Is that the high there? So it's coming to the high. That would be for me the only issue at this moment is getting through. I mean, you can stop in 39.80, and then it actually rejects that previous high and rolls over. It's getting a bit stretched up here. The volume's starting looking like it's potentially easing off on the daily up into those highs. But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, if it just keeps powering along there, it's going to drag in a few stops as well. So any shorts that have been trying to sell it down that have stops above there, so it could easily trigger that and just blast off. I'd say your next port of call would be up towards that 44 to 46 zone. Where are you looking on that one? 45, target of 45.20. So yeah, great. So a lot of these are looking a bit stretched just at the moment. Cron. Who do you follow in the US, can I ask? Oh, that looks, on the daily, that looks really nice. That trend down there, it's looking like it's starting to ease up. You've got this level here, which is just broken. That, for me, looks like a cracker. You've got leg up here, good, a lot of heat's been taken out of that move up. A lot of buys, they bought it in late, they've just got out, locked in some gains. Anyone that bought it early potentially locked it in, so it's put a lot of fuel on the sidelines, ready to go again. And the fact that it's gone through that 1656 mark, what was that, overnight, for me is looking quite positive. I mean, it looks like a good one. Even though it is stretched, that could easily, and look at the volume that picked up on a couple of days ago up into this zone. Volume eased off, it went sideways for a couple of sessions, and bang, up she goes again. So this one could easily be on a run through 24 bucks. What have you got on that one? So 22.93. Yeah, up towards the highs. Just looking at that chart, that could eyeball it. Eyeballing that could easily plug through 23, 24 bucks through these previous highs. What's the other one? Cron LYB. I'll get into that in a minute, Gino. SGF. Good volume pickup down here. For me, just a longer term structure. The fact that we're getting a bit stretched, a bit of volume has picked up here. It could be selling into it. Just have to see. I mean, that one is not as good as Cron before, I think. What else we got? LYB. Where are the others? Cron, LYB, VG. $12.12. I've got the right one. $12.18. It's on the move up. So you're looking at sort of these two legs. Structure's good. It got a bit ahead of itself up here. Deep correction into, was it the end of last? Yeah, good sell-off. That was just, that market built again, held a high low here. It's on the way up. Potentially looking to target back up towards that 14 mark. Buying with the trend. Market's heading higher. What were the other ones? MDT. I don't mind that one either. I think if anyone can see that sort of cup there, press up, clean out a lot with this move. Your 1, 2 moves down, retest those lows, starting to head higher. I think this move up could really easily push up through 100 bucks. Sorry, just some calls coming through. I think that looks quite good. It is extended again, the same sort of thing. Potentially extended doesn't mean it can't keep going higher. You know exactly where your risk is, so it's not really an issue. 107, you're looking up to those highs, so it's easily this. Just see. Yeah, it's about extension of that leg up, so looking good. Nice target. I reckon it's a cracker. Couple of goodies there, so thanks for those, Shirley. SGF. So for 2 for me, we're obviously Cron. I'm going to keep an eye on. Oh, where'd that go? Cron and is it MDT? Yeah, MDT. Medtronic. All right. SGF. How you going, Gino? Weekly. I don't like the structure on the weekly. It's on its way down. It has bounced. I know that, but it's not looking too flash just on that weekly. A bit overextended up here. Last time it was overextended, it was up above $4. Now it's around the $3 mark. So buyers are struggling to get it to higher levels to really give it a bit of a nudge up. Yeah, we just see. I think it's MAs are down. It's a good. I mean it's at a level now. I think it's probably early days if you're looking to buy it. Just looking at the weekly. Sort of this level right where it fell away from at 320. You can see that move down, tried to pop up, another move down, and that's all part of, let's just draw that bigger, different color of this move. Potentially anyway. I mean, if that's the case and that is your bottom, that's your first leg down, secondary leg down off a lower high. If that's the case, then it's going to break this level at 320 potentially. So I'd ideally like to see it. What I'd be looking for, blue, there we go. Does that pop up? Maybe it breaks through there, and then some sort of corrective action down. Pop up, corrective action down, and then I'll be looking for my higher low. You can drop down to your daily. I'd just like to see this leg corrected slightly and see if they can get a run up. On the daily, it's getting, you can see it's getting a bit heavy up at that 320 zone. So if it just consolidates through here, don't forget you can buy, the longer it sort of goes sideways, that is a correction in itself. I mean, it doesn't have to pull back. You don't have to correct down. You can correct sideways just as much. So if this just sort of chops around, what it's going to do, anyone that's selling into it, okay, taking profits, and then it looks like it's going to pop, you could easily get it, that support at, say, 295 hold, lower highs coming in, and then boom, up she goes again. So the longer it sort of goes sideways, I think it actually looks quite good. It looks like it's going to just jam up through that 320 zone, and then you're probably looking towards maybe $4, maybe back up to that $4, because that's the key level around that 320 at the moment. So yeah, that's probably about it. Not bad. All right, so VTG, yeah, smashed today. That's something we had for a while. I don't know what's going on there. Is there any news out on that? Guidance, okay. Not happy with the guidance from the other day, from Friday. Long weekend to stew over it and then come and sell the hell out of it today. See that? I wouldn't go near this at the moment. And if anyone can see that, this key sort of structure, potentially, I wouldn't call it a short. It's a bit overcooked on the downside as well. So I think it's got a lot of work to do. That's what's killing it. And even, you take it up through here. You got the market pressed down, popped up, lower high, it's just sold straight down here. So I think if you're looking at this one, you got some time up your sleeve before you have to worry about it. Good volume too on the downside. So yeah, got hammered. All right, guys, we'll probably call it a day there. We got through unscathed. That was a cracker. So the internet's doing well. Let's just see. So to let you know, anyone that knows about speeds, the speeds I had previously, any sort of internet I can get on this was around 30 megabits per second, I think it was. No, sorry, 5 or 6 megabits per second upload, download, I say. Yeah, about 6 download and about 1 megabit per second upload. And that's why things were just dropping out. You just couldn't send through enough data. The screen capture that was sending it, uploading it, you had to slow down the rate. Things were just dropping out. Just could not send enough data, upload enough data to YouTube to remain stable. Now we've got NBN, which is a cracker, is about 50 upload, 50 megabits per second. So probably 10 times faster than what I had. And sorry, that's the download. I keep saying upload. Download speed's around 50 or so. And that's because of the package I got. It's capped around that, but the upload speed's about 18. So the upload speed's 18 times what I had previously. So we can send through better quality data, upload better quality data without it even dropping out. So we'll start fiddling with it a bit more and see what optimum settings we can get. But all looking good. All right, guys, thank you very much. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Shirley. Thanks, Gino. Paul, thanks, mate. We'll see you back in on Monday at 12:30, just the usual. So if there's any topics you particularly want to discuss, just email me through and we can make it, the start of the session, just talking about a particular topic. Don't make it too fundamentally based. A lot of problems, but we'll see. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a great week and weekend. Cheers, guys. Bye.